This episode of JJ Meets World is brought to you by Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty. Listen, folks, Natalie's got a great track record when it comes to selling homes. On average, she's moving homes for $4,000 or more above the list price, plus she's selling homes in less than the market average. What does that mean for you? It means you don't have to keep your house clean all the time if you're selling it. If you're a buyer, no one wants to wait around for a year, 2 years to find the perfect home. Natalie is going to work her tail off to make sure that she finds you the right home at the right price, and she's going to represent you through the entire buying process. So it's kind of like holding a hand to get across the street. Natalie is going to be that Girl Scout who grabs your hand, pushes the walk button, gets you across the street, and then points you down the street to where you need to go. If you're selling a home, Natalie is an amazing person to represent you. She's going to keep you top of mind on all these search engines, all the stuff that you have to worry about. Don't worry. Natalie's going to take on that headache. You don't have to deal with it. So get a hold of Natalie today, because on average, she sells a home every 3.74 days. That's 2 homes a week. Sometimes Natalie's selling enough property to make you think that she's an entire team herself. But no, she is the Wonder Woman of local real estate agents. Natalie Deutsch, 701-388-9338. You can also get a hold of her via email, Natalie, Natalie, at hatchrealtyfm.com. Or you can go to the Hatch Realty website, livefargomorehead.com. That is livefargomorehead.com. And hey, start packing. Hello, podcast listeners. Welcome to episode 99 of JJ Meets World. That's right, one shy of a hundo. In this episode, we interview Adam Wiedman, who designed our JJ Meets World logo. He's a previous guest, and we get to delve into some pretty deep stuff. We talk some politics. We talk some Josh Duhamel. We talk some font. There's so many things going on in this episode. Plus, we get some people who are actually live in the studio. And Tucker and I make a deal with you as the listener to please give to our Patreon, in which we're going to give you something that should never, ever see the light of day. So all of this and more on today's episode of JJ Meets World, patreon.com/JJ Meets World. We actually have that exclusive content we've been begging to put up for years.
1, 2, 3, 4. JJ Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. JJ has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
When I was younger, I was introduced to an anime called Vampire Hunter D. Watched about 15 minutes of it. I was like, this isn't for me. I don't care for it so much. And I have never been the person who really got into the anime side of things. I can appreciate them. If that's what floats your boat, great. That's fantastic. But
our generation definitely went through an anime craze.
Oh, without a doubt.
For sure.
I had friends who religiously watched Gundam Wing and never even saw translated episodes. They just figured it out what it was through the visual aspects of the storytelling.
Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, Pokemon, all these other big properties from Japan.
So to me, when someone gets on my case for something that I don't like, I always think, well, I don't like anime and I don't get on those people's case.
Right.
I don't get on the case of the people who only play online-based games. So listen, I don't care if you don't think I should be wearing socks with open-toed sandals. I am.
Yeah, just live your life.
Yeah.
Live your life.
This beach might have a crab on it, and I want one more layer of protection between my toe and the crab's claw. There are things that are out of movies that I would always like to see happen in real life. For example, a crab who fights back and pinches somebody on the nose. And then they run around with this crab on their nose going, ah! Probably a French chef of some kind.
And you want the crab to fight back?
Yeah.
Like run around.
Not to be cooked.
Run around the room.
It could also be a lobster.
And then you want that chef to sort of appear from behind a bunch of stuff with a bunch of teeth knocked out and one part of his mustache has been singed a little bit.
Right.
And he has to extinguish it quick.
I would like somebody to take a bite of something that's very hot, spicy wise, and see steam come out of their ears.
I got to tell you, though, when I watched The Little Mermaid and watched Sebastian in that scene actually makes me hungry. When he's stuffing Sebastian
it
with
looks
stuff,
so good.
It looks really tasty.
Yeah, like when he's cooking like the fish and
Why does food look so good in cartoons?
Oh, probably because it's perfect.
Yeah.
You know?
Like you've
Because, for example, in cartoons, when you see someone eat fish, they put the whole fish in their mouth and then they pull out the bones perfectly sucked. That's not the way it goes. I've tried it. It does not work like that.
Right. Or a chicken wing, usually in there it's just one solid bone with nothing but a solid sphere of white meat on top of it. And you just take big bites into it and you're getting nothing but meat. But that's not what those things look like. That's not what drumsticks look like.
Sometimes you get the cartilage that explodes inside the drumstick, and then that just sets you off from eating drummies for a while.
Dagwood sandwiches, Dagwood-style sandwiches, where it's tall and it's got everything on it, and then someone eats it in one bite on their tongue. That looks fantastic.
And there's always an olive on the top and a toothpick.
Even the weird pizzas that the Ninja Turtles ate in the cartoon, even though those are toppings I would never get, gumballs and syrup and anchovies, but when they're getting them and eating them,
because on the Turtles especially knew that the real sell is when you take a piece, the cheese
has
stretch
to melt.
really
It's
long.
got to stretch.
It should be really stretchy. When I have a pepperoni pizza, I like when they use the little tiny pepperonis that curl up and make
old style.
They make a bowl of grease, and sometimes I'll pick that off and I'm this grease is good.
Yep.
So what I'm getting at here, people, is if you're eating a bowl of grease and watching anime, just remember there's somebody out there who goes, anime is gross. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying here. Our guest today,
what are you doing today, Jeff? Well, today
grease.
I'm going to put on some Dragon Ball Z and I'm going to eat some grease.
Okay. He died doing what he loved.
Sounds like you're judging Jeff right now.
I'm not. I'm just saying, remember.
Let Jeff live his life, JJ.
I'm just saying, remember, like, when you're out there, there's somebody who's going to be talking smack about you, but you just do you.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how you're going to segue into today's guest with this.
Well, Adam Wiedman wears clothes that he chooses himself. Every day. And he's his own man. And he says to myself, God damn it, I'm going to wear a shirt today. Because I want to wear a shirt. And it might have a design on it. It might be whatever he wants to have. Adam Wiedman, who's previously been on this podcast,
designed our logo.
He's got a big announcement, something that is directly tied to Tucker and your history as both friends and colleagues together. It's very exciting. I'm very pumped for people to hear this episode because we solve a lot of the world's problems, or at least the world in our neck of the woods here.
We usually do.
So I want people to sit back and listen to this episode and take some notes, because literally during this episode, we had two people who wanted to get into the world of podcasting taking notes during the episode. So if you hear laughter or commenting in the background, it's from our live audience
and
we tested this out in front of.
And welcome, because we know that this is episode 99.
It is.
Welcome to the episode before our 100th. 100th, JJ.
By the way, a lot of people like to read the title of the episode and then they like to figure out what part of the episode it comes from. You literally have to wait until the last two lines of dialogue from this episode to understand why this episode is titled what it is titled. And if you haven't seen what it's titled, look at your phone or your broadcast the device and look at it.
Here's how JJ and I divide the labor on JJ Meets World. We all have our own zones, and we don't really tell the other how to do it for the most part. I mean, every once in a while, one of us will go, hey, man, I think that's a bad idea. And we'll go, oh, okay, and we'll course correct. But for the most part, I mean, there's really little that either of us have to do with what the other one does. I don't really tell you what to say at all, ever, how to kick things off, or what have you.
You don't even tell me what questions to ask people.
Nope, straight up. I want the JJ-ness to come, and I'm not going to get in the way of that. And JJ doesn't tell me what to title episodes, doesn't tell me what the thumbnail art should be, and what should stay or go, for the most part. and we kind of stay in our lanes. And I really like the fact that I just get to pick a title. But usually we look for the title in the episode, and usually when we hear it, we know it at that moment that's going to be the title.
I also want to throw this little tease out there before we get into Adam's episode that we have an unaired full episode of this show that Tucker takes in a very odd direction. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, we will send you the full X-rated.
You're committing to this right now.
I'm committing to it. So
this is the closest thing to live that
right. So if you, I didn't even tell Tucker I was thinking about this. We're gonna put an edited version of this episode out. Maybe if Tucker can clean it up, or it may never see the light of day unless you are a Patreon subscriber. Patreon.com/JJMeetsWorld. So if you want to hear how such an episode I was so excited for, and I put more time and effort into this episode than any other episode I'd ever worked with, and Tucker takes this thing off the rails so fast, you'll get an exclusive listen to this episode.
One of my many faults is that I love to watch people squirm, and I don't know why. It shouldn't be a real thing.
I am a leech that rather than plucking off and putting back into the water, Tucker decided to put some table salt on during this episode.
Because also I know that there are no consequences.
Yep,
because
none whatsoever.
Anything that I say or do, I just cut out if I don't want it to make the final piece, and as do you.
I mean, I hope that you questioned for a little bit, like, I wonder if JJ's going to show up to that next recording. I wonder if there's a moment where you at least thought that. If we have whet your appetite for what this episode is going to be, patreon.com, you can give us $1 a month. You can give us $100 a month. It doesn't matter what it is. But any Patreon subscriber that we have had up through June of 2019 will get this.
Excellent.
So don't worry if you haven't previously given to us. We're going to make it happen. And you can listen to the complete, the deeply saucy episode of JJ Meets World that nobody else
We're
has had a
really
chance
building
to hear.
this up, and people are going to listen to it and go, "Oh, that's just immature." That's all it is. It's just immature.
Oh, okay. Let's get this podcast going.
JJ Meets World.
Welcome back to the podcast, Adam Wiedman,
Thank
who
you
is
for
the
having me
first
back.
person to sponsor us.
True.
Yep.
True. Just had to make a logo.
Yeah.
That's it.
For you.
So,
That's it. Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
I got that together. I was making a logo for another person and just put your chubby face on there instead.
Yeah,
But
it was
what
actually a failed one.
It was
From
a failed logo?
No. I do have a shit ton of those, though. Like,
I was really
'cause
hoping
when
that you were
make the
putting
logo,
JJ on old logos.
It's like you're usually doing 2 at a time. And then, I mean, they're obviously not buying both of them. So I've just got, for as many ones that have went through, I've got an equal amount of rejects just in a
do you
pile.
ever go back to those and say, like, gosh, this other thing I created that was the reject is really what this company's asking for?
There's been a few instances where, like, I'll go back and reference it or, like, pull an element off of something, but I don't know if there's ever been an actual instance where I've taken that actual rejected one and given it to someone else.
So you've been on the podcast before. You're making a return appearance because a pretty cool thing has just happened to you. Speaking of logos, why don't you talk about it?
Yeah, so there's a book called Logo Lounge, and they're on their 11th edition, and it's a book that I've been following and buying for, 10 years now, and I was chosen to be included in it this year with 3 of the logos that I've designed.
Hooray!
Hooray! Yeah.
So it's just a book full of logos?
Pretty much. Logos designers from across the world. You basically just submit ones that you feel are strong, and then from that they compile the book. I think this year they said they had to sort through like 45,000.
Oh, man.
Damn, dude. You know how many ultimately even make it in? And when you say 45,000, is that separate logos or designers?
Separate logos.
Okay.
So, but at the same time, there's probably 20,000 people that entered logos into this to try and make the cut. So,
What were the logos you submitted?
Actually, the 3 that made it. So I'm batting 1,000 on it. They're Tech Tailgate, local organization here in town. What was the other one? It was Sterling Grace Properties, and then Broad Stand Barons.
Hey,
Yeah.
So a couple years ago, So locally, when I use Facebook, it's typically about food. I'm usually writing about foods that I eat.
But cheesesteaks.
And it's typically cheesesteaks and brats.
We haven't heard from you on the cheesesteak front in a long time.
I've got a lot to talk about that, actually. We'll bring it up.
I look forward to them. I think every time I'm like, God, I love these.
You're the sole person who's like, please make more of these. I need the information on cheesesteaks. But actually, before I even got into cheesesteaks, I was into brat stands specifically because that meant it was summertime here in Fargo. And as a kid, loved going to the Hornbacher's brat stands. And then Carrie Snyder reached out to me and said, you should just make a Facebook page about how much you love brat stands. And I said, sounds good. So I started a page, Brat Stand Barons of Fargo. And it's just where people can just talk about how much they love the brat stands in town.
And put alerts up.
And put alerts that like, oh, this one just opened up a cash-wise. Hey, these guys have dill pickle chips that are half off or with it as part of the deal. The day I created the page, Adam, who I had already previously known from working with him at Sundog, contacts me and goes, you need a logo for that page. And I was like, you're right. And when a world-class logo designer tells you you need a logo for that page and I'm going to give you one for free, you say, okay, sounds good.
Done.
And the next day in my inbox, there was this gorgeous logo for Brat Stand Barons Local 701.
It's like a union, yeah.
Yeah. And it's been on the page ever since. And now I am tickled to death that is going to get published in this book.
I know. It made me laugh, honestly, because that, of all the logos that are in the book, that's got to be probably one of the most ridiculous ones out of the whole thing.
And it's for a Facebook page.
Right, exactly. People talking about, I'm glad they never like actually asked me like, so what is this? And like, well, it's much cooler than it seems.
Did you have to get permission from those businesses that you design the logos for to submit them?
No, not really.
So Sterling Grace Properties will be like, whoa, look
at that. Yeah, no, that's one of the things with graphic design too, especially when you make brands and identities. It's in my contract basically that I can use it for self-promotion. And they more or less just have to be okay with that.
Sweet.
Which, I mean, it's smart on their part anyways too, because if something like this happens now, you know, their brand and identity is getting seen across the world in a book. So
you've been following this book for a long time.
Yeah.
How long?
10 years.
Whoa.
Probably.
And do they do one every single year, or is it every couple of years?
Every year they put out a new edition, and this is the 11th that's coming out.
Wow.
What kind of stature does this book have in the graphic design community? Like, is this something everyone reads, or?
It's highly regarded as a pretty awesome source of inspiration, if anything. But I mean, it's not like the Bible of graphic design by any means. It's more or less just like an international showcase.
And if I remember correctly, I mean, you getting into graphic design in the first place really was around you admiring older labels and logos when you were a kid.
Yeah, it was totally a necessity too. I actually, I studied mass communications and public relations at MSUM and got into graphic design on the side just because there was kind of this need within our program that there really wasn't a graphic designer in our class. So I'm like, well, I'll pick it up. I've always kind of liked it, and then just kind of found my influences and ran with it.
So
here we are.
Big congratulations. Being in this book is huge. Where do you go from here now? Right?
Sky's the limit. I mean,
do you submit for the 12th, or do you say like, I'm going to retire on top?
I think it's just focused on bratwurst from here on out, actually.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Good answer.
All the way down from here.
Yep, that's it.
So let's turn this into food-based choices that we all make. So did you want to design a logo for Brat Stand Barons of Fargo because you love brats, or because you instantly saw something in your mind that was like old-timey, like German-style fork and the sausage with the little nubby ends?
Both, actually. Anytime I get the opportunity to do something cool and like I see something in my head and I can just run with it and like you guys let me do that, I mean, I'll jump on that 100% of the time.
That's the creative person that I like.
Yeah.
Good for you.
It's like, I mean, why not? It's there. I've got the tools at my disposal. I mean, it took me half an hour, put it together.
Right.
And then, why not?
Don't tell the people who made the book. Be like, I poured over this thing for a long time, guys.
Processes involved and questionnaires and.
Well, I'm a massive graphic designer fanboy.
Yeah.
Like when I see good graphic design, like I become a fan of that designer real quick. And when I worked at Sundog, I mean, the some of the heaviest hitters in our town were working there as far as graphic designers. So Adam, his wife Shannon, Jeff Knight was working there. Fish, Aragista was working there. I mean, there were, and some other ones that are still there, and they come and go. And getting the chance to work with these 4 amazing graphic designers every day was just so cool. And at one point, at that point, I was still in charge of all of the graphic design for Theater B show posters. And, I liked it enough, but I knew I wasn't passionate about doing it myself, and I wasn't of the level of someone who really focuses on it as part of their study. And so that season, I asked all 4 of them to each take one of the 4 shows that season and do a poster design for it. And we came up with absolutely fantastic stuff. Which show did you do?
Oh, I don't even remember, to be honest with you. I remember the poster was red. That's about as far as it goes.
I think you were the very first poster that year. I'll have to go back and double check.
What was it? Oh.
So you get all these different people in, and you get all the different creative juices flowing. What's the thing? We talked a lot about creativity the last time you were on too, and sort of like how to get past some of those hurdles. But now that you continue to further yourself with this, at what point do you say, like, okay, it's time for me to get bigger?
Right. Actually, I've been going through that a lot in like the last year. So I'm approaching my 3rd year as my own business. And one thing that I've always really wanted to get into was like fonts and typefaces.
Yeah.
I see there's it's one of those things too. Like it gives other designers an outlet when you design an awesome typeface, and you can put that out there. Sure, on the side you might make a couple bucks on it too, a little bit of passive income, but that's really something I want to start exploring moving forward. I've got one that I just launched actually that's out there, and it's been fairly well received. But I've got about 3 or 4 more fonts in the hopper that I'd like to get with this year too.
What goes into making a font? Because we all use them, because we all use computers, but we just sort of accept the fact that they're there, right? That they show up and we type in keys, and then there are graphics that correspond with each of those keystrokes.
Right.
So what do you actually have to do to build a font that a computer can use?
It's a lot of tinkering more than anything. So the way my process works, it's one in particular that I launched. It's called Nefla, and it's based off of, I went and got a bunch of old photos from diners from the Midwest and kind of found like these common like glyphs and characters that were in there, and developed the alphabet off of that. And then you illustrate them. My process is I go through Adobe Illustrator, vectorize everything, and then bring it into a font making software where you can actually start to program it and make sure everything looks good together. Like what does it look like when an L is next to a T? It's got to be spaced different than if 2 H's were next to each other. So it's mostly tinkering, to be honest. The tinkering part, I think, was about a month to get it fine-tuned to where I wanted it. Designing, a week.
Well, in fonts, I mean, they're so ubiquitous, and there's so many of them.
Right.
And it's a sans serif font, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so. So what about making sure that this sans serif font that you've just developed actually stands apart from the millions of other sans serif fonts that are out there? I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of fonts that are different, but you could put them next to each other and they seem similar, or they look very similar. Was that part of your process too?
Yep. I was making sure I wasn't directly copying someone was a big one too. But
that's got to be tough.
That's like you said. I mean, there's so many fonts out there. I mean, there's going to be some similarities in it, but there was a couple things, like a couple of characters that I designed that I really, really like that stand out from other alphabets that might look similar, like a K or a Y or something like that.
Was it tough to make it like your capitalized stuff too? Because
I only did actually all caps for this one. I went super easy. Whoa. Just all caps. I said, screw it with the lowercase.
I like all cap fonts.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
Where the lowercase is just sort of like a slightly, squished in version of the capitalized font.
Yep.
So speaking of fonts, so one thing that I kind of ran into when I was doing posters for Theater B was, I'd been getting all artsy with it, and I would pick fonts that I think looked cool and that I thought were readable, but ran into disagreements with different people about that. Ended up correctly losing because I was wrong. Like, they were not readable fonts. But what I was looking at gigposters.com.
Sure.
And I was seeing
awesome
all these
resource.
Amazing resource.
Yeah.
But all of these posters for like local rock shows, if I were to compare and contrast your style with someone like Punch Gut, right, who is this very illustrative focus, and there's a lot of like busy lines and really vibrant colors, and he's got this really great chaotic style.
It's awesome.
And oftentimes when he'll make a poster, he'll really go nutso on like the way the words look, because the words in that context are less about being readable and more about being a part of the art.
Being part of the piece, absolutely.
So how do you approach that? Like, I mean, you work in a very clean style. You've got a very classic look to it. It looks like you're definitely inspired by those old beer labels and cans and master box cigar cases and all that stuff.
That's exactly it.
So how do you approach readability, and what do you think is acceptable for the readability of a font?
So, especially with this new one that I put out, it's classified as a display typeface. So you're basically going to use it only in highly readable situations like headlines, billboards, stuff like that, like minimal words. You're not going to type out paragraphs with this one. You're just going to use it when you need a big punch of readability. So for that, I mean, I don't know if I took the easy way out by any means, but it's definitely a lazier version of a proper font, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, because I mean, I'm not doing the lowers. I'm not doing any of that. I'm not doing like old style numbers where you've got a bunch of different things going on. I mean, it's just meat and potatoes, simple, easy to read.
What emotions do you feel when you see papyrus font?
Oh God, I don't know.
And Comic Sans.
Just anger. Not so much Comic Sans. I don't know. Comic Sans doesn't bother me. I don't like it.
It has its time and place. If you're at like a public school library,
right.
Comic Sans is great. But papyrus font, my mom uses it, and it causes problems for us because
it just makes me angry, and I just don't get why it's so highly regarded as an awesome typeface.
Yeah, why are you trying to sell some tea?
Yeah,
blows my mind.
Who said this?
Well,
Look at it. It's everywhere.
Right, but I feel like that's just because people saw it someone else doing it.
Right.
It's a very Emperor's New Clothes. I don't think anyone out there actually likes papyrus font.
My mother.
I think but I think your mom is like, listen, West Acres Cinema used it. So if it's good enough for West Acres Cinema, it's going to be good enough for the McDonald Dance Society newsletter.
What my mom is thinking is the McDonald Society, which I love calling it that. We'll just call it that. Even though it's like the McDonald School of Irish and International Dance. But the McDonald Society is way better. No, for her, it's, that is a gorgeous font. It looks like ancient Celtic to me.
Yeah.
Even though it's based off of like papyrus is like Egyptian scrolls or something stupid. And she's probably like, oh, the tea that I drink uses it, and I really like the look of that. So she's making an aesthetic choice, and she's asked me to design stuff for her in the past. And the sticking point is, I'll do that for you. I'm not using papyrus font. I don't care that you want that. I'm not giving that to you. So if you want to do it yourself.
The highest grossing film Avatar uses it in their logo, so it should be good enough for me.
So that's speaking of readability, though. We go back to that. I mean, they used it in
there. You go.
In everything in that movie, and like the subtitles were all in papyrus. And it's just like if you're gonna pick a font, that's the shittiest one you can find.
James Cameron really leaned into it.
Well, they also made sort of a derivation of it, right? Like it's a smoothed out, like classic papyrus font has little divots in it that I guess are supposed to look like the scroll breaking apart or something.
Syrup on shit don't make it a pancake.
Oh, did you write that one down last night? And you're like, I can't wait. I'm going to find a way to work this in there.
That's one of my favorite sayings, actually. I love it.
I want to throw something out. So whoever is designing billboards in the Fargo-Moorhead, West Fargo area is doing an awful job these days. Especially with the advent of digital billboards, a digital billboard is a completely different monster than a regular billboard. I am finding them incredibly difficult to read until you're a car length away from them. I find the message to get lost in a lot of these. You take like when Budweiser had a neon-based sign that was along the interstate. It was just their logo.
Yep.
It's an iconic logo. They don't need to add a website to it. They don't need to, turn off here and get yourself a beer.
It's ridiculous.
It was
$2
just
off
boom.
Thursdays.
Right.
Yeah.
And here we are talking about it.
And here we are talking about it.
Because
it's effective.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
simple.
I remember it. I don't even think it's up anymore. But I do
that was
remember
on I-29 right north of 94,
Yeah.
right? Yep.
The other effective use of billboard space lately is the interstate billboards are at a slight angle, so they make kind of a pie shape. And Newman chose to sell where they would spread apart. There's a little gap that faces 17th Avenue. It's a picture of one of those raccoon pandas from the zoo, and it just says zoo. Well done.
Yeah.
I looked at it because it's a cute animal. Zoo. I'm going to go to the zoo.
Yep.
Now, if you were in a city with multiple zoos, that might be a little more difficult.
Right.
But we're a one zoo town, so it's okay.
Graphic designers learn pretty early on, too, that the customer is not always right. In fact, rarely are they right.
Rarely.
But at the end of the day, you probably have to do what they want.
You got to hear them out, at least. Do your best to convince them otherwise, but yeah.
Have you done some billboard design?
It's been a while, actually.
It's been a while.
I'm trying to think of the last one I even did.
I mean, is it difficult because businesses no longer are just the name of the business. They're the name, the phone number,
Everything,
the Twitter handle,
yeah.
the website, and they want to include all this information. They don't understand that every pixel you use up with that information is taking away from the design aesthetic.
Absolutely. Keep
And
it
that's
simple.
And it's tough because you get a good brand going and you don't need that stuff. People will find you as long as you don't have some weird Twitter handle. If the name of your business is, Tucker's Dance Shoes, and your Twitter handle is something
make you a logo
weird
for
like
that.
Twinkle Toes.
God.
Yeah, Tucker's Dance Shoes.
God. Oh, man. I'm more likely to become an MMA fighter than to become a dancer. And that is not likely either.
It's true.
Too many cheesesteaks.
It's in your genes, and you've fought against it for so many years.
Yeah, I just don't know if it really is.
I bet it is. Well, let's unearth something in you. Let's awaken something deep down inside of you.
Yeah, it's impossible for me to dance like no one is watching because everyone is.
Right.
Do you guys know what tinikling is?
No.
So it's a type of dance where you use four people are maneuvering these bamboo shoots.
Oh yeah,
They're long bamboo
They're
shoots.
smashing them
And
together.
You're smashing them together, and so it's you're dancing, and you're kind of like dancing in and out of these bamboo shoots. So it's like clack, clack, clap together, clack, clack, clap together.
trying to not get hurt.
And and if you get clacked together, it hurts. Like you can break your ankle. So I was the only guy in my senior year who took dance as a gym credit, which was so smart
That was
because
smart.
it's just a
Yeah,
bunch
all
of
the
women.
ladies with
That's
you.
awesome.
So
Innovator.
America's Next Top Model Carrie English and I spent 3 weeks ballroom dancing together. So take that, world.
Yeah.
But tinikling was one of the things we learned, and they didn't have bamboo because we were Fargo Public Schools, so we had PVC piping instead, which has a little bit more like womp in it. But I like to bring up the fact that I know what tinikling dancing is when I have an opportunity. It only took us
Tinikling.
98 episodes to be able to drop that in there.
Just about.
Tinikling.
Tinikling.
How do you spell that?
I imagine tickle and nickel together.
Fair enough. Okay.
So hopefully later on you don't have a beard and you go what was he talking about? Tickle nickels?
Tinikling.
Nickel tickles?
Yeah. Nipple tickles.
Have you guys checked out that nipple tickle dance?
Say that to Shannon and just see if she's like, oh yeah, I know what that is.
What'd you talk about on the podcast today, honey? Oh,
Nipple tickling.
nipple tickling.
We tickle the nips.
Bamboo something? I don't know.
So what's something you'd like to design that you haven't had a client walk in and say, gosh, we're doing a hot air balloon for a festival or something along those lines. Do you have a dream?
No, I don't think it's so much like a product or an actual thing. It's just more or less allowing me to work with you to do my job. Like the process, like a good process is what I really, really like doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, every time I've worked with you or pretty much any other graphic designer, when I pick a graphic designer I want to hire or work with, I'm picking them for what they're going to do to it, not necessarily I need you to do this specific thing. I might have an idea in mind or a goal I need to achieve, but I like finding someone that I go, all right, do your thing.
Yep.
And I'll let you know if something's super crossing a boundary.
Right.
I think I had one note about the JJ Meets World logo, which was just like a font size change or something super simple like that.
Right.
Because I like being surprised and I like just kind of trust falling back into an artist and going, yeah, what they give me is what we're going to use. And that happened also with our theme song with Scotch. You said, hey, Scotch, will you make us a theme song? Sure. And then he just made one. And we're like, let's see what he does.
Done.
We knew what the tone was like it's JJ's personality. So think of JJ's personality.
It's a little bombastic.
Which you did too, which you did a great job. I never would have thought to say, hey, could you please make a microphone with JJ's head as the microphone? And you were able to distill JJ's face down to some very simple shapes.
Yeah, it was perfect.
I had your picture from Facebook on the screen, and I was taking some elements off of it and putting it on there and just making sure.
And you're like, yep, there it is.
Like you look at it, you go, that's JJ.
What I tell people about the logo that I like the most is I like that you added the hands on the side, so it's very Evita-esque. So I was just in the Twin Cities, and I was at a movie theater that has these giant murals, and one of the murals is of the Evita where she's standing in front of like the poster of herself with the microphone, and I'm like, damn, look at that.
You got that.
And I wish that I had it. We're working on some JJ Meets World merch right now.
Nice.
But I wish I had a T-shirt so I could be standing next to Madonna and being like, "Who wore it better?" Probably me.
I think we know who did.
Yeah, right.
So is there a brand that's out there in the world right now? Let's say like a national brand, and obviously they're probably doing well because they are a national brand. But if there's someone out there that you go, man, I really think they could really use a refresh on this brand right now. Is there one out there that you'd be chomping at the bit?
Nationally.
I mean, just from your own personal aesthetic sense.
I would say locally is a better question. There's so many shit logos in this town. So I actually had this idea that I've had it for a couple years, and every year I keep on meaning to put into action, and I haven't yet. And it was going to happen around, now with March Madness, except I was going to call it March Badness, and I was going to have people who think they have a really shitty logo in town submit their logo into the contest, and I'd set up a bracket, and then the people can vote on which one they think is the shittiest, and then the shittiest wins a free logo.
That is brilliant, Adam.
You
absolutely need to do that.
Haven't had the time to do it yet, but I keep on talking about it every year.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
You need to do that for sure.
Because there are
Maybe
a
next
lot
year.
of those crud logos out there.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. If you have a logo, let's say a business has been around for 15 years, and they have this logo, they're very gun shy about changing any element of it because they think, well, gosh, what people won't know that it's us. And truth be told, there have been many times that a business in this town has rebranded and people have wiped them off the map because they're like, well, that's not Mom's Kitchen is not this woman with a rolling pin. That's not Mom. So this must be different. I don't like change.
All right, well, this is going to bring up the big elephant in the room. North Dakota Tourism.
Oh, God. Jesus criminy.
You like, are you going to enter that contest?
No, I wouldn't touch that one at all. I mean, there are so many eyes on that right now. You could make the most beautiful logo in the entire world. The absolute thing that they need, you could give it to them, and it's going to get shit on. It's just ready to get shit on across the state.
But it would be really hard to do worse than what they have. I mean, when it came out, you and I both made our own memes about the sign. Yours was fucking brilliant because it was a South Dakota one that said, "I'm with stupid," pointing upwards. I just recreated the logo with papyrus font, Comic Sans, and then I drew part of it in hand in like MS Paint.
Yep.
Oh, he's good. He's good. You guys can laugh all you want in the back. We actually have
We got some guests
people
in the
hanging out with us in the
today.
background. And so if you hear them chuckling, that's all that's what that is. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing that really infuriates me about that logo, more than the fact that it's bad. It really rubs me raw that a state. So the tourism of any state is about bringing money into the state and keeping money in the state. So why in the hell would you spend just under $10,000, like $50 less than $10,000, so that you don't have to report it, so that you can hire your friend who is a Minnesota graphic designer to just come up with something for you?
Air quotes
around graphic design,
yeah.
right? Why would you not?
That many credit hours in graphic design.
Yeah, zero credit
Zero
hours.
credit hours in graphic design.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So why would you not just look in downtown Fargo and be like, oh, there's some good logos down here. There's some good graphic designers around town that are North Dakota based.
Oh, I know a handful across the state. I mean, there's guys out in Bismarck, and there's Grand Forks designers that could have easily made something, even if it was slightly more effective than the crap that they put out. I mean, they're still winning.
So have you participated in like an RFP before, a request for proposal?
Not on my own, no. Back when I was in the agencies, helped out a little bit with them. Not my jam.
Here's my issue, I think, with the North Dakota Tourism Board. We have trouble identifying what our state is to other people outside the state. So at times you'll see Josh Duhamel fishing and pulling up a giant catfish.
At times, that's all we see.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
Or
Josh Duhamel in a teepee. It's like, because we have those.
The Fargo Theater Marquee.
So and that's the thing, right? So even if when you look at the campaign that Minot native Josh Duhamel is in, They don't know. They're like, well, are we advertising for the Minnesota? What is Minnesota to you? What is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think Minnesota?
Outdoors.
Yep, exactly. Right.
Lakes.
Lakes, yep.
So it's the land of 10,000 lakes. So it's going to be camping. It's going to be fishing. It's going to be great times outside. They don't even touch on the fact of like, hey, come to Minneapolis. They're like, no. That's not what we're going for here.
Right.
North Dakota has that identity problem where we're constantly thinking of like, okay, well, what are we? Are we cowboys? Because that's the way we're selling, the state to some people.
Want to go to Canada, but you don't got a passport? Well,
Right.
North Dakota's pretty close.
Close enough.
Anytime we try and sell like, come to us for fishing, I'm like, we're right next to Minnesota.
Yeah.
They're going to do it better than we do anytime. And even the second person on the list is going to be Wisconsin. So don't bother North Dakota. Let that be something that's fun that's happening. If you were going to go for maybe like the hunting aesthetic, that I can see a little bit more, but you're talking about a niche group that you're trying to get to. And then when they're trying to be like, oh, come to the metro part of, come to the urban areas of North Dakota. And then somebody comes here and they go, well, I guess that was an exciting 10-minute drive through what is the bulk of Fargo, North Dakota.
Only 3 hours away from Minneapolis. Right.
Yeah. So JJ, let's say Governor Doug Burgum calls you up. And he's like, JJ, I'm a big fan of you. I'm following you for a long time.
I assume he does.
I listen to your podcast every day. I usually listen to it a couple times a day because it's what gets me through the soul-sucking world of politics that I have openly chosen to be a part of. Obviously, this big logo fiasco is the biggest blight on my administration right now. I was listening to your podcast the other day, and it really sounded like you had some great ideas. And so what I'm going to do is, before making you my lieutenant governor, which is what you really should be, I would like you to revamp our tourism. And I'm giving you complete control 100%. I was going to have my son do it, but he's busy. He's trying to do
He's dressed as a carrot right now.
Yep. He's dressed as a carrot.
He's getting people to go to the Red River Market.
He's
working
greasing
hard.
up a bicycle, I guess. Because even though he has 5 cars, we're pretty well off, so he can get anywhere he wants to. But he's got.
He
this
gets to make
bicycle.
choices.
He makes his
That's
own
exciting.
choices. I think I'm excited to see who he becomes when he grows up.
I start off by going like, listen, DB. Can I call you DB?
Yeah,
Is that
please,
right?
please do.
DB, listen.
My friends call me Dougie Fresh, but you can call me DB.
Yeah.
I was sorry, no.
It's like, listen, first and foremost, I think the most important thing that North Dakota can do to pitch itself to other places around the globe as a vacation destination is to talk about cost. You can come here and spend an entire week for half of what you would spend at some of the other big name, like going to Wyoming. Those lodges cost a lot of money to stay in, whereas you can stay in Fargo for a tenth of the price of downtown Chicago. So why don't we just really lean into the fact that we are a budget-friendly place to visit?
It's a good angle. I like
Right?
it.
And because here's the thing. What else do we have to offer that's truly unique? South Dakota has done 10 times more with their tourism. Thank you, Mount Rushmore. But then even beyond that, they've done a great job with whether it's history or coming to experience, the prairie. So why are we fighting for that same dollar there? Let's talk about the person who's budget conscious and says, gosh, I can stay at the trendiest hotel in North Dakota, the Hodo, for what, like $92 a night?
Right.
Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, hell of a
and
deal.
so there's so many families out there who want a vacation but need to vacation on $1. Every hotel has a water slide now. Your kids are not going to care if they're in the Wisconsin Dells or at the Holiday Inn on 13th Avenue in Fargo.
Right.
Come here where it's very reasonable to be and start with that. Also, and this is a big one, let's not advertise our state using people who chose to get the hell out of
Yeah,
here.
no kidding.
I mean,
Right.
it doesn't make sense to me. It does not. And I understand you want a big name, but if that's the case, let's get a CGI Lawrence Welk to be thank you,
Right.
come to North Dakota. It's going to be way cheaper. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat. And then
Come up to Dakota territory.
Yep. And then I would say the other thing too is you need to get a van full of 9 people together. 3 of them should be from outside the state, and the other people should be people inside the state. And you need to drive around the entire state of North Dakota, and you say like, okay, what are the things that set us apart? What are the unique aspects? And go from there. For example, the Lewis and Clark Interpretive Center is awesome, but it's awesome for 45 minutes.
Right.
That is not something that's going to get someone to come from Washington State to spend time in Washburn, North Dakota. So if that's a piece of the puzzle, what is the rest of it going to look like? So that you say, gosh, come and visit Minot. And within an hour's drive of Minot, we have all of this stuff that's going on that's amazing.
Because you're not going to want to stay in Minot for
Right,
very long.
you don't. You do not. I also think that we should be the state that has the most festivals. It's super easy. Each small town can pull their own weight. When you look at the number of people who go to Barnesville for Potato Days,
Right.
it is a huge influx of people. I'm trying to start a rhubarb festival in North Dakota because it's it's a vegetable in our neck of the woods that people either love or hate, but the people who love it are willing to go the mile, and it's such a part of our heritage up
Absolutely.
here. Rhubarb pie and rhubarb Coogan.
A lot of people named Barb.
A lot of barbs.
A lot of barbs.
So to me, what if every single weekend in North Dakota there was a small town festival going on that honored something? So you literally, it doesn't matter what weekend you visit from Memorial Day to Labor Day, somewhere in North Dakota, there is an awesome
like
weekend
that.
where 5,000 people are streaming into a town.
I like that. I like that a lot.
All right.
Thanks, DB.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is definitely better than my idea of just turning it into Westworld. You want to kill a guy? North Dakota.
Yeah.
Where human hunting is
Yeah.
legal.
Yeah.
One thing I'm surprised North Dakota never got into, and I don't know if it was a question for a Game or Fish, but at one point in the 80s, there were a couple of ranchers who were having a tough time because the meat industry wasn't really keeping up pace with what the cost was. And so their thought was they were going to import exotic animals, breed them, and then allow hunting on their property
Oh my
of these exotic
God.
animals.
Yeah.
So like you'd bring in bighorn rams, and then
Wow.
it's let's say 300 acres in this rocky, craggy territory, and so you'd come in and you'd get a chance to hunt a bighorn ram, which I think is we've got the space for it in this state, right?
Sure.
So let's
Just
make it
turn
happen.
it into a murder ground, exotic murder ground.
Come to North Dakota where the blood flows free.
So graphic design is one of like most media based industries gets disrupted by technology, gets commodified very quickly, and so you're now competing with things like Fiverr, right? Or these online websites that make it really easy for a client to go out there and try to find something, but really dilute or make it difficult for graphic designers to gain a foothold. Now, someone like me understands that the ability to hire a professional to work with them to get something made is something that I would much rather do. But so how does that sort of affect your livelihood? How has that affected the graphic design landscape?
It personally, not too terribly much. I think I'm lucky enough to have enough years under my belt to where I can actually educate people who want to be my client to why this is more of a value than, you're going to spend a lot more money to go with me than going to Fiverr, but at the same time, you get what you pay for. Excuse me.
Do you ever go to Fiverr just for fun and be like, I'm
I
going to
go
spend
there,
$5 just to see what's going to happen?
I've actually gone there and made I've probably spent $25 on Fiverr just making I'll be like, oh, what's this called? Oh, Adam's shitty fucking logo shop. And then they make it for me. Like they have to do it. And then I get it. And then I send it back to them and be like, this is dumb.
So you went and wasted some graphic designer's time is what you did.
Pretty much.
I have a friend who told me he had an egg business. He was starting to have chickens and he was going to sell eggs at the farmer's market. And he said, I need a logo. And I'm like, oh, listen, I got some great names for you, like locally. And he goes, oh, I'm going to use this Fiverr. And I was like, you're going to be disappointed.
Go
And
for it.
he's like, for $5, I can live with the disappointment. Guess how many revisions he had on that thing?
20.
Yep. 20 on the dot. And at 20, he said, fuck it. I am
Yeah.
done.
It's just
I am
it.
done. And I said, do you know what your time costs you Because at this point, you easily could have gone to one of these local guys, had something amazing done, and yes, it's going to cost you more, but it's not like you're going to charge them $5 million.
Right.
Because that's what they think. They think, well, I'm going to save money by spending only $5, 5 Washingtons,
Right.
versus what a local person's going to cost. It's going to be huge.
And like a lot of the, I can't speak for everyone, but me personally, I like to be very, very value based. So, situation like that where you've got your friend who wants to just sell eggs at the farmer's market. Well, I look at him and he's not a company who's, spending $1 million. He's just a guy selling eggs. So I'm like, well, let's make it work for you. Maybe we'll do one for $500 this time instead of the typical price. Let's make it work for anyone based upon what you're actually selling and getting in return from said logo.
Well, and also, I mean, a lot of people really get excited about the idea of starting businesses, starting brands, especially in the age of social media. So everyone has their own quote unquote brand now. And I think most businesses, when they start, they get really excited about all the playing house of businesses. So let's make the title of the company and get the logo, and we'll all work out what our titles are.
Get some business cards.
Get some business cards. We'll have meetings at a coffee shop, and then nothing happens. And a lot of people just don't think about the fact that if you're getting a logo for your business, I mean, that is something that you're going to look at every day. Your customers who like your product, they're going to look at it every day. And for a lot of people, that will be the first impression that is made on them.
That's exactly it. First
about
impression.
Your business.
Yep.
People often think of logos as just this, I need one, so I just got to go get one. But
Right.
It's not super important. So I'll just pay $5 to get one. So I've got one to throw out there.
Right.
But it actually goes way deeper than that. Can you talk about that a bit?
Well, I think just it's the people who value the actual creative process and the branding aspect of the business, and the ones who want to invest in it, you're going to see those ones going to be successful. I would say more times than not than the people who are just like, get the Fiverr logo and go out there. Because if you don't care about the brand, you probably don't care about the business that much.
Right.
It's kind of the way I see it.
There's excuse me.
We're all coughing, but Adam was smart enough to bring a cough drop.
Right, and I don't want to be clicking on it
And
in the
it's
microphone.
it's unwrapped. You brought a loose cough drop.
Well, I didn't want to make the noise with the wrapper either.
Oh, that's good.
I'm
Good for you.
Listen, I sniff into this thing all the time
Okay,
and don't remove it.
good.
And
Tucker's
I
supposed to go back and sweeten all these episodes, but I don't think he actually does
We
it.
structured it so I didn't have to do that. That's why we put out 2 episodes every week, JJ.
I've really got the Fiverr of producers over here.
I've got the
You
3
should
for
invest.
hosts. He's not even worth 5.
Yeah, you get what you pay for. So Gremlins 2, the new batch.
Oh, okay, here we go.
I actually completely forgot what I was going to say.
There's going to be something good. Here's
I bet
something
it wasn't.
here's something I'm curious about. Have you ever had an instance where a client's revisions make you think, you know what, I don't really want my name to be associated with this product?
There's been a few, yeah. And a lot of the times, like specifically with my portfolio, those are the golden boys. Those are the ones that I feel really happy about. Those are the ones that let me go in and do my thing, work with you to get to where I want to be, and show the process of this is ultimately what we can get. I don't put everything that I've ever done up on my portfolio because if it's not something that I really, really want to be doing ultimately, I don't want to sell it to you, I'll do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm here to help. And it's at the end of the day, it's your business, but not all of them are going to make the cut.
Does it make you so as I guess I'm going to call it a small business because technically, according to the U.S. government,
Right.
if you have less than 100 employees, you're a small business.
Right.
But they should have more denotions. It should be a teeny business, a miniature business,
Micro
a
business.
wee business.
Oh, we business.
But as a small business owner, you ever get scared?
Yeah.
I mean, you've been very fortunate and very lucky because you're that incredibly talented. But do you ever did it ever sink in sometimes of like,
yeah.
God, if my one employee doesn't really pull
Yeah.
something out of his hat, I'm
Absolutely.
screwed.
Absolutely. Luckily not terribly much, but yeah, there's definitely nights you lay in bed and you're like, God damn, I hope they pay that bill here pretty quick.
Have you had fun doing your taxes?
Oh God, I hate it so bad.
Are you
It's terrible?
Are
It's
you
terrible.
an LLC, a sole proprietorship?
Sole prop?
Okay, so the government really wants its chunk.
Oh my God,
right?
Ton, and even more so in Minnesota because I'm a Moorhead resident.
Oh,
so
man.
it's like,
Oh,
yeah,
bro.
yeah.
Oh, unless you
Yeah.
own Lakes property, I don't
I
understand.
guess we can't hire you to do the North Dakota logo.
no,
Damn.
actually,
they
all
did
the more
last
reason.
one.
Yeah,
the
all
last
the more
one came
reason.
from Minnesota. Polly, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because we just talked to Dougie Fresh. He just called in and said that he wants to do a North Dakota-based
Listening live, huh?
designer. Yeah.
He's probably looking for someone in Canada. Probably wants to,
Working for Toonies.
Yep, exactly. Trade some of that sweet, sweet U.S. dollar.
At this point, just have Josh do it.
He just really needs
He's on everything else.
We're already paying you.
Yeah, that's the tagline. Josh made this logo.
It's great. I tweeted at him, and he never tweeted back, which bothers me. Yeah. My improv group bought out a screening of Love, Simon last year, which was awesome, and we're going to do it again this year. But he's in the movie, and I'm like, there's a story about Neil Patrick Harris buying out a screening and Kristen Bell, and I'm like, maybe he'll latch on to the fact that in his own home state, someone's buying out a screening. Nope.
Nothing.
Nothing.
What a jerk.
He peed next to me at the Hodo one time. Yeah.
Was he using a urinal?
He was using a urinal, as was I.
Do you see him? Do you look?
No,
over
they got that divider.
That would have been your one chance to see what.
You know what's funny is I had to think about that, and I'm like, well, I think he's like 6'1", but you're referring to something uncouth. Also,
I mean, you're standing there, 6'2". I don't know.
Now, whenever we have a guest who comes in and Tucker's like, they say I have to use the bathroom, I'll show you. They're like, Tucker, you stay here. You stay here for what's going to happen.
Listen, if I'm next to a big celebrity, I might try to take a glance. Maybe.
Why not?
Just why not?
Well, when are you going to get a chance to do that again?
It's like you and Fergie. That's
if
all I've
Brad
ever
Pitt
seen
is
it.
peeing next to me, I'm be like,
Yeah.
If who?
Brad Pitt, anyone, like some big celebrity. Just
I
be
thought
like,
you said Brad Garrett, and I was like,
Brad Garrett. Oh, absolutely. If Brad Garrett was, although Brad Garrett probably like, hey, do you want to see this?
Yeah.
He'd probably just show it to me if I asked him.
I love how Brad Garrett, the Brad Garrett impression is like, how deep can I make my voice heard? My brother's Ray. And then when anyone does a Ray Romano, they just kind of pinch the top of their nose and like, hey, it's me, Ray Romano. Did anyone in that show have a decent impression of them? I mean, like, I guess Peter Boyle.
Yeah.
It's hard to do like a really awful Peter Boyle impression.
Right.
So sole proprietorship, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It is. So my business for a long time was a sole proprietorship. And do you do your own taxes or do you bring them to a professional?
I did for the first year and then said, screw this, and then go to a professional.
Yeah, me
since
too.
then. Yeah.
So what's interesting is you work in a field, any of the creative fields, when you're doing taxes in a creative field, you need to get creative with the taxes.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's things
Write it
that
off.
you should be be able to write it off. So
I'm going to write this off somehow.
I remember going in and being like, okay, let's be honest. So if I'm doing a post-prom in Langdon, North Dakota, and one of the kids yells out 2 Chainz. The only reason I know about 2 Chainz is because I have a Spotify account that I pay monthly for. Is this a tax write-off for me in research? And yeah, right?
Sure. Why not?
Yep. And so then it's like, so ipso facto, my Netflix keeps me up to date on references to the show The Office. Can I continue to use this as well?
Hey,
And-
JJ, this is Governor Dougie Fresh calling you back up again. I've got an IRS agent here with me that's been listening to the podcast with me, and I was wondering if you could answer some questions she has for you.
State or federal?
Both. She does both.
She's
Under
both-
the Trump administration, they've really relaxed how things work.
Doug, you're being lied to. That is a scam artist. Because first of all, I can tell you this: the IRS will never contact you by phone. It's only by letter.
Yeah.
That's their number one
There you
policy.
go.
No, trust me, Dinesh. He said that it's all above
You were
board.
calling Dinesh a she earlier, and now
Dinesh is a she.
Well, you just said he. Doug, if you're in trouble, Doug, say water fountain.
Water fountain.
I've only ever seen a chocolate fountain in my house. I assume that if you're a billionaire, that you have chocolate in the pipes.
That's how
Constantly.
you eat everything. If
Constantly.
you're a billionaire, you've got a ranch dressing fountain, you've
Yep.
got a chocolate fountain, you've got a Gatorade lemon lime and orange fountain.
Yep.
Everything is you're just putting goblets.
Only
under
buttermilk
things.
ranch in these pipes.
Why
Oh,
don't
yeah.
they do the ranch fountain at weddings and such? I wonder.
Oh, I've
Especially
been
up
to
in
one.
this.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I've never seen
So
that.
I've never seen
the
one.
problem is that to get ranch dressing to go through one of the fountain situations that they have, because they don't make a special one that has extra large tubing for that amount of, I guess, or the lack of viscosity, they have to water down the ranch so much that they almost needn't have bothered.
Because also with the chocolate fountain, you have to heat the chocolate, right? So that
It's constantly heating the chocolate so it stays in a liquid form.
you don't want to heat your ranch. You want to.
Hot ranch. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can choose to keep the heating element off of the chocolate fountain.
No, I know,
ranch
but
won't solidify
if the
regardless.
heat is what is making it more viscous, you don't want to heat the ranch to make it more viscous. So you've got to what you're saying is put water in it, which
put
you
water
also
in.
don't want to do.
I'm kind of a
Liquefy.
runny ranch guy, to be honest.
Hey, high fives across the table. Bam. I like when I dip it in, I want all of that to come out. I don't want my wing to leave an indentation
same.
in the ranch.
Same. I'm a runny ranch guy.
Good. Your favorite ranch in Fargo Moorhead.
Favorite ranch.
Now, I've actually administered several contests.
Side
for the
Street's got
trade
good
union.
ranch.
They do have good ranch.
Yep. Side Street's
Not
got
my
good ranch.
favorite, though.
I can tell you who's got the worst blue cheese.
Oh, who?
Tailgaters.
Really?
Hate it.
Because I'm going to tell you something. I love Tailgater's Ranch.
Really?
It's
I
so
haven't had
good.
it.
Feels like if you've got a good ranch, your blue cheese is going to suffer more
gonna
than
lack.
likely.
Yeah.
More than it's hard to concentrate on both.
Right.
It really, really is.
It's one or the other.
Hodo's got amazing ranch. I think they make it themselves.
But they don't even call it ranch, though. They do that like hoity-toity thing where they're like, it's a house-made blah, 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 blah. You're like, just bring me some ranch. Bring me some ranch dressing. All right. Do you know anyone who says catsup?
No, thank God.
Yeah,
if you
get
go-
out of this town
Yeah,
if you
no
call
kidding.
it.
If you go to the
need that
Food
nonsense
Pride
here.
in Hillsboro and you read the signs that tell you what's in every aisle, one of them says catsup.
Catsup.
And I remember thinking, like, did my grandmothers do the logo design and signage for the store? Because for her, the name Food Pride is easy because it tells you you've got pride in your food.
Right.
The name of the business tells you everything you need to know about it. There's food in here and there's pride. And then you go and you find the aisles, and the aisles are labeled things like this: catsup, diapers, pencils. Now, they don't mention the fact that there's also canned tomatoes and things like that, but if you're looking for those, you're going to find those eventually because there's enough choice. If you're looking for pencils, well, hell, we only have 2 of them, so we better direct people to this aisle for pencils.
And I don't know if ranch on a brat would work.
I
You know
can't
what-
say I've ever done it.
You know what works on a brat? He's going to strongly disagree with me on this, but mayo and mustard at the same time on a brat,
I can't say I've ever done that either.
phenomenal. I'm getting a
Yeah?
thumbs up from one of our audience
Mayo and
members too,
mustard together.
saying yes.
See, I'm a mayo and ketchup guy.
Also good.
Yeah.
Also good.
Yeah.
But I'm
Never done with the
surprised
mustard,
at how
though.
well mayo and mustard go together on a brat.
Well,
I'm
something
a-
to look forward to.
Those are his worst 2
Yeah,
condiments
I
ever.
do not like
Either.
mayo or mustard.
Oh.
And I don't like Miracle Whip either, so just shove that question right back into your gullet.
Moving on.
I will say this. The idea of hot mayonnaise is doubly bad. And so when you're putting it on a bratwurst, I think that sounds extra disgusting. My mother has a recipe for something called onion goop. That's like 3 parts mayonnaise, 1 part mustard, and then not chopped onions, but sliced onions, so they're kind of long.
Sounds delicious.
You put it on ham sandwiches, like when you
Yeah.
get a picnic ham. Like so, every time my dad would grill a ham, my mom would make onion goop for the next day, and it gets better if it sits overnight. That recipe dies with me. Absolutely, 100%. It dies with me because I don't want to subject the world to this
I'm gonna
as
look her
life
up.
goes
I'm
on.
gonna look her up.
You
I gotta
did-
get this.
You did just give us a rough breakdown of how to make
Right,
it on this
but
podcast.
listen, you go one way or the other too heavily. No.
Does Christy like it?
Oh, I think she does, but she's not the real chef in the
But she's had it
family.
before. She's had it before.
Yeah.
She knows how it tasted.
Yeah.
So
And you get this-
if
so-
I whipped up a few batches and said, Chrissy, which of these tastes the closest?
She wouldn't be able to identify it by taste. It's a color.
Okay.
So you have to know, like, is this the right color? If it's not, you maybe add a little more mustard, but like
Just
oh,
yellow
got
mustard?
like the Plockmans.
Okay. Yep.
So it would just be like an off-white, right? Then after that, if it's mostly mayo with a little mustard and then onions.
It gets the Plockmans. There's enough yellow dye in there that it really. It gives it. It should be like John Deere yellow.
Sure.
It should be John Deere yellow. It shouldn't be pastel Pos egg dyeing kit yellow. If that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah, actually, that was spot on.
And definitely use a white onion because it should be almost. You shouldn't add another color in there. it's going to die with me.
I don't know. I'm intrigued. I'm going to go home and start experimenting, actually.
So, Brat Stand Barons, congratulations on the logo. When does the book come out? Do you know?
I'm not sure yet.
Did you get a free copy since you're in
No,
it?
I still got to buy one.
What?
What kind of shit is that?
2019 sometime?
Yes, 2019 sometime. I would assume here in the next couple of months.
When we get a copy, will you come autograph it for us?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would love to.
Also, now that it's now March as of the time of this recording, which means we're getting closer to brat season.
Yep.
So there hasn't been much activity on Brat Stand Barons because there are no brat stands in town right now. And every once in a while, one of us posts some sausage-related thing. But that's going to start ramping up here pretty soon. So if you've never joined Brat Stand Barons, check us out on Facebook. You'll notice the beautiful logo design by Adam here. And please... just keep it to sausage and brat stand related topics. If you're talking about pizza, I'm going to ban you.
These guys don't even want to hear about breakfast sausage.
Oh, no. If it's a sausage, it's fine.
So like
sausage.
So
sausage
you consider like a sausage, like a breakfast sausage, like a Jimmy Dean breakfast sausage. You consider that part of the Brat Stand Barons empire,
especially because you need to be able to talk about sausages in the off season. So think of George Ellis and his computer baseball league. That's how they handle baseball in the off season.
So what about a sausage patty?
I mean,
that's different.
I hit a nerve.
I think it
like
should be
like a dentist with only one good eye.
Here's what I say. Here's actually how I run that community. Is I actually don't really run it. I'm the sole admin. Both Adam and Carrie have edit access because they were both.
I didn't even know I had that.
You have it because they were both the first. They were both the official first two charter members of the organization. I'm the only admin, so I'm the only one who can ban. But I will let the community decide. So what I'd say is if you want to test the boundaries of it, go ahead and post about Jimmy Dean sausage patties or whatever you want.
Possible onion goop
and
recipes.
we'll see how if the community decides to embrace it, I'll be all for it. But if you get pushback, I'm going to ban you. Straight up ban. You will not post on this page again.
Done. I mean, you got to be stern with these kids.
You do. And we're hoping this summertime, too. I want to get some of the people who actually work the brat stands on this podcast.
I would love
We
that.
should bring
that
the
would be
podcast
so awesome.
to them.
We should just do a tour of the brat stands.
I like
and then
that idea.
Figure out, and we're going to bring Adam along with that, too.
Count
You
me
know,
in.
what I understand is if you haven't signed up for this season of Brat Stands already as a charitable organization, you're not going to get it. They're packed. They're full.
Got it.
So what does that say to me? It says there is an opportunity out there for someone to get a brat cart that you let kids run. It's only kids, 12 and under. And they can raise money for an organization that they feel is worthy. And they've got to do all the accounting. They've got to order the materials.
Well, let's tell
I like this.
Governor Dougie Fresh that let's just get a brat stand and raise money for a new tourism logo.
You know what really sucks? In the state of North Dakota, there's still a law that says that kids can technically have lemonade stands.
That's too
Really?
bad.
But
What good is a kid if you're not going to put him to work?
Minnesota just signed a bill that said, listen, kids' lemonade stands, chill out. Everybody, just let them have it.
I didn't know I was running an illegal lemonade stand all those years that I was doing it as a kid.
You didn't have the proper health permits.
And when that fire truck stopped by to buy some lemonade, that they were buying illicit lemonade.
I mean, I'm gonna throw out there and be honest. There are times where I think, it's going to take one jerk health inspector, and we may lose the brat stands because they're cooking them sometimes just on a regular grill.
I don't know. Something tells me that the city commission are in the pocket of big brat stand.
Big brats.
Big time.
There's some
big
backdoor
time.
shit going on.
Brat stands
Yep.
are a major business in town here. And, we're all for, like the Italian mafia. Yeah, they donate to charities all the time. They help get kids off drugs. But
Hey,
then they
soccer
also kill
coach, here's a
people.
TV.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to talk too out of school, but brat stands in this town, let's keep it friendly, but you don't want to get in their way.
Okay. What if somebody opens a Kugel stand?
Listen, I'm just saying that there are city officials in this town that get large deliveries of kielbasa at the beginning of every
On the
summer.
regular.
And that's just like, hey, look the other way while we're selling these brats for the soccer league or muscular dystrophy.
Hush Wieners.
Have we found the title of
That's
this
the title.
episode?
I think that's it.
Yep. Adam, thank you so much.
Hush
Where can
Wieners.
people find you
Yep.
online? Let's wrap this thing up right there.
Wiedmandesign.co.
.co.
.co.
C-O.
COWIED.
Are you on the Twitters or the Instagrams?
I'm on the Twitters, under Adam Wiedman. Instagram, Adam.Wiedman.
To spell Wiedman.
WIEDMAN.
Because, now that we've have medical
Medicinal
marijuana,
in this town.
you
Right.
got to be careful because your Wiedman.com,
See,
you're going to see a
that's
huge spike in the
what I'm
number of
hoping
people
for.
who are visiting that
All
website
these-
and then disappointingly logging off 2 seconds later.
All these grade school jokes are finally coming to
You
fruition,
can
man.
absolutely contact anyone and be like, dude, my name is Wiedman. I'm
Sign me
Wiedman.
up.
Okay, your next logo should be Weedman, like Weedman, and it could be for a guy who either gets rid of weeds and patios, or some guy who constantly forgets where he parked his car.
Anything.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
A huge thanks to Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty for sponsoring this podcast. Folks, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, contact Natalie Deutsch today because Natalie Deutsch is not only a previous podcast guest, she's somebody who's going to care enough to sell your property for top dollar. She's also going to find you the best price possible if you're purchasing a new home. Last year on average, Natalie earned her clients $4,000 over list price on their homes and sold them faster than the market average. On average, Natalie's selling a home every 3.74 days. That's 2 homes a week. Those numbers don't lie. Find out why Natalie is one of the top agents in this entire market. Get a hold of her today, Natalie at hatchrealtyfm.com. You can also call 701-388-9338 or go on to livefargomorehead.com. That's livefargomorehead.com. Read all of her amazing reviews, and then listen to her episode of JJ Meets World. Thanks again to Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode of JJ Meets World and would like to help us continue to produce 2 new episodes every week, you can donate to our Patreon. Check out patreon.com/JJ Meets World and donate today. Even as little as $1 a month can go a long way. Visit our website at www.jjmeetsworld.com or hit up our social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the sites the kids are using these days. If you'd like to stay up to date on new episodes of JJ Meets World, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or wherever you consume the podcast that you love. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by checking out www.moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, go to linebenders.com, and you can find direct contact info for JJ. If this Patreon thing works out with this exclusive episode, we're going to have to think of other immature things to do, like hair pulling. I was thinking one where we just toot into the microphones, but then the problem is no one will want to be a guest.